Main man, made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing. It seems as if Eddie Hearn is stating that in interviews, he wants to take over American boxing. He states that, he's going to study the landscape. He's fully aware that he's going up against more competition. And he's bringing his Matchroom Boxing imprint to USA. And he is going to take over the sport of boxing here. Now, as a promoter, I've always said Eddie Hearn is one of the best. Clearly, he's showing a new way of promotion by making the fights not just fights, ladies and gentlemen, but he makes them full-fledged events. That is something that I would love to see him bring to American boxing. A lot of those fighters over there in the UK, man, they get some of the best introductions. They fight at some of the biggest arenas. And bringing that element to American boxing, well, that's nothing but welcome. You know what I'm saying? But on Eddie Hearn's part, he comes to America already with network deals in place with Sky Sports over in the UK, HBO here in America. We've already seen him make headlines in boxing by signing Daniel Jacobs. Also, on top of signing Daniel Jacobs to an exclusive promotional contract, he's also got him a multi-fight deal with HBO. Now, a lot of other fighters got to be sitting around like, wow, I would love that. When I think of this situation, the first set of fighters that I look at and got to be like, is the PBC fighters. Al Heyman's fighters. Al Heyman's fighters, none of them are locked in exclusive promotional contracts. And this is the reason, ladies and gentlemen, though Al Heyman does his best to treat his fighters very well, they're not getting the exposure that they all would like. He has a lot of fighters under his banner, and he tries to keep them all happy. But most importantly, he tries to get them all as much exposure as he possibly can. And there just ain't enough dates. There just ain't enough slots. And the main reason why you don't see a lot of these guys is because they're not being promoted year-round. We recall a lot of these fighters were once in promotional, or at least they thought they were in promotional contracts under Golden Boy, but while Oscar was out dressing up in drag and running through rehab, he was getting his fighters stolen by Richard Schaefer and Al Heyman, and he found out that none of them were locked in promotional contracts. Now, they all use, different promoters. They use Lou DiBella. They use a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? And they're not locked in, and they mainly fight on the Showtime side of the tracks. So you take a guy like Jamal Charlo at 160, right? He fights for Al Heyman in the PBC model, right? Showtime. He's on the other side of the tracks. All of the main fighters are over on HBO. That's at 160. Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez, now Daniel Jacobs. We see a lot of Billy Joe Saunders fights on HBO. So these fighters are going down on HBO, and guys like Jamal Charlo would love to have a situation like that with Eddie Hearn. You don't think Eddie Hearn's already looking at that? A lot of those PBC fighters, if the numbers line up, possibly would like to have something similar to what Daniel Jacobs did, truth be told. Because they're not being promoted year-round. Whenever there one or two fights do come around throughout the year, that's it, and then no one's really talking about them no more. Well, they want to stay relevant. And Eddie Hearn is looking like a guy that's trying to provide that opportunity. I'm starting to wonder, is Eddie Hearn going to be one of those promoters that's going to be able to swim in all of the waters? Will he be able to allow the networks to come together, and HBO and Showtime, if he signs some more PBC fighters? Will he be able to do fights with Golden Boy, Top Rank, Lou DiBella, Kathy Duval, basically everybody all around the board? Will he be able to do that? Now, one thing he has to be advised is that the promotional game here in America ain't easy. Look at Rock Nation. Rock Nation has, though they've had some very good boxers and guys like Regendow, and they had Andre Ward and guys like that, well, they're still not one of the heavy hitters. We've seen 50 Cent come and go with his promotional outfit, SMS Promotions. Eddie Hearn needs to learn that these ain't the Frank Warrens. These ain't the Ricky Hattons that's over here. You're going to deal with some old school veterans that know the game and has tremendous, tremendous influence. Guys like Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya. These guys have influence. Kathy Duva, influence. And these are some of the opponents, if you will, that Eddie Hearn is going to have to go up against. Now, Eddie Hearn can't come over here with no protection programs. We don't play protection programs here in America. That stuff you're doing with AJ that I do not approve of, keeping him away from Deontay Wilder, well, we don't get down like that. We understand now from a promoter standpoint, if I'm a promoter, if I'm Eddie Hearn, then what he's doing is awesome. He's building his fighter. He's building events. That's awesome as from a promoter standpoint. He's swelling that bag. But as a boxing fan, I hate what he's doing. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. So Eddie Hearn is well aware what he wants to do, who he's going to be up against, and he knows the road there is not going to be easy. And he knows that these promoters here, they're not going to just let him come on over here and take over the landscape. It's just not going to happen. So he's going to have to make us fights that we want to see. Now, that's one of the pluses out of all of this. By Eddie Hearn coming over here with that attitude, he's going to have to put on big fights. He's already also talking about signing Jarrell Big Baby Miller. He's next on the list from what we hear. He says he's got more signings planned for the future. There's a lot of fighters that Eddie Hearn can snatch up. HBO is looking to rebuild their fighters. They're looking to rebuild their stable of fighters, given that Top Rank has now gone to the ESPN side of the tracks. And they've kicked a lot of the Top Rank fighters out of there. So they are in the business of having elite fighters. And who is the best guy to be in the business with? A guy who has the UK market on lock. None other than Eddie Hearn. And that's another promising thing for American fighters. Eddie Hearn has the UK market on lock, ladies and gentlemen. They could be promoted, well, not only here in America, but also in the UK. He's bringing a lot to the table, and he's going to put a lot of these promoters on notice. They're going to be trashing the guy. We've already seen Lou DiBella out here trashing the guy. They're going to be trashing the guy left and right because they know that Eddie Hearn is bringing a new era way of promoting. Or is it an old school era of way of promoting? Is it this typical build up your fighter, make a hype job? We seen it in Mike Tyson. We seen it in guys like that. Is it that typical kind of promotion? Or is he looking to make big fights and also make them the biggest events possible? Imagine a guy like Eddie Hearn with a Canelo Alvarez. He's already got a fighter now which he can effectively put in there with Canelo Alvarez. If he wins that promotion, ladies and gentlemen, it could be huge. These promoters better be on notice. Eddie Hearn is in town. He said he's going to try to take over American boxing. This provides nothing but good fights for us fight fans. I don't care from a promoter standpoint. I don't give a damn what they do. You know, as long as they give us the fights we want, I don't care who running the damn show. You know what I'm saying? So let them have it out. It's like the promoter Hunger Games, and I love it. Real shit. So let's see how much of a splash that Eddie Hearn is going to make here on the American shores. But if he bring that AJ game, the shit that he doing with AJ, well, he's going to get kicked out of here faster than anybody ever thought. Real talk. So to the next video, Main Man, Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe to Twitter, Made Man 511, Facebook, Main Man, Made Man Boxing Forum, Google Plus, Main Man, Made Man. You know, hey, I like Eddie Hearn, man. I've always did, man. He's visible. He's one of the more visible promoters that you see. He's always constantly getting interviews. He's constantly pushing his fighters out there. He's never talking his own agenda. He's always talking about what his fighters want. We've seen Eddie Hearn bring big purses and bring big audience to a lot of his fighters. He put Carl Froch in front of 80,000. He put Anthony Joshua in front of 70,000, 90,000. He's putting Kell Brook in front of 30,000. You know, if he could do it for those guys, he could do it for a lot of the American guys, man. And that's one of the elements that American boxing is missing. And that is the big, big event. The big event. We've seen Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather have a big event, but you know, that's very far and few in between. Hopefully they set the precedent. But guys like Eddie Hearn, they keep that shit going. So we'll see. So to the next video. Peace out.